Welcome to Jill and the Crown. I'm Greg. I'm here with Peter Hodgkin talking about women's football from Football Brisbane Media. How are you, Pete?
I'm good, Greg. A nice win on the weekend, and we've got a special guest in tonight. But before we introduce our special guest, remember last week we talked about the Under-17 Girls World Cup?
I did. You went on and on.
I know, and it's quarter-final time.
Right.
You want to know who's in it?
Quickly.
Venezuela are playing Canada, Japan are playing Mexico, Ghana are playing Italy, and Nigeria are playing Spain. So a couple of Africans, a couple of Europeans, a couple of South Americans, and the
Japan.
Asian champions.
Okay. And what's your tip?
Japan.
Okay. Well, good.
Hey, we do have a special guest.
We do have a special guest. Who's our special guest?
Our special guest is Mike Corby, CEO of Football Brisbane. How are you, Mike?
Very well, thanks, and thanks for having me.
Hey, Mike, now, you've obviously started at Football Brisbane last year, but I guess a lot of people won't know your history or your background, so can you fill us in a little bit on where you come from?
Sure, Pete. Come from New South Wales, but don't hold that against me.
Oh, so was I originally. Don't hold that against me.
I think a lot of people were, actually. Yeah, I was Football New South Wales, the CEO for 5 or 6 years. And before that, I was the general manager operations. So all up, I was around 10 years at Football New South Wales.
But I know you played in New South Wales, didn't you?
Yes,
you played at a pretty high level.
Yeah, I started at the ripe old age of 3 years old back then. It was called Roo Ball then. I think we're called Mini Roos now.
Yep.
It was Roo Ball back then. And up the grades until I played in the National League with Blacktown City, and I was in the Australian youth team in the 1982 Australian youth team. So my era is around the Frank Farina, Robbie Slater, and all that. Captain of the under-16s and under-18s state teams.
So what position did you play, Mike?
In the midfield.
In the midfield?
Yeah, it's got a few goals.
So you would have got a chance to get into Robbie Slater a bit, maybe?
Yes, yeah, we actually played together a few times.
Oh, good.
Blacktown City.
So you got some good contacts then?
Oh, yes, for sure, yeah. Some great memories too.
But we're not here to talk about you much. All right. Hey, one of the big things everyone wants to know about is how did the South East Queensland WPL come about?
Yes. Okay. Well, it came about really for us in Football Brisbane around January of this year. Of course, FFA wanted the NPL men's to be the same as the NPL women's to be the same as the NPL men. So that was the format that they liked. Didn't quite work in terms of going around to the clubs, and rightly so. There's complete differences between the women's game and the men's game, the clubs and so on.
Do you think Football Queensland have got that message now?
Oh, look, I definitely got that message now, because there was only a number of NPL clubs that were going to be able to play in the first inaugural year of the NPL women's. So Football Queensland come to us in January and said, can we help out in the interest of the game? So we said yes, in the interest of the game, and we put the Football Brisbane best teams with the NPL best teams, and we formed a 14-team competition for this year only. One round, and then the second round, it's just been decided that we'll split into two, so the top 7 and the bottom 7 will then go into their own round 2 with a playoff, top 4, top semis, finals and grand finals.
So both leagues will get finals?
Both leagues will get finals. It's about playing games, especially at that level. We want the women to have as many games as they can as well.
And that is that just purely on the points?
Purely on the points of the first round. So the top 7 will break off and then they'll play each other again until we get a top 4. Semi-finals, finals and grand finals, and the bottom 7 will do the same thing. They'll play off for their top 4, finals, semi-finals and grand finals.
So the idea is that going to have an impact on next year, do you think?
No, it's not. This is for this year only, because we also put one of the things that we've agreed to do is put a women's elite competitions committee together, and they're going to be responsible for the elite competitions in the future.
So do you think that'll be run out of Football Queensland or Football Brisbane?
Elite competitions, of course, will be Football Queensland.
Right.
But because we're supporting this year and we've put our 20 cents in terms of what our thoughts are, they're quite happy for us to be a part of that committee and get this committee working. But it will be Football Queensland's terms of reference, and at the end of the day, it will be their sign-off in terms of their board on the elite competitions for the future.
Well, fair enough. Do you got any idea of the time frame for that? Because one of the big issues with women's football is we don't know, from a club's point of view and a coach, we don't know what's going on often until January, February, and it's way too late to be.
And rightly so. If I could just digress to Football Brisbane last year, when I first started, we put together some committees, Competitions Review Committee, futsal referees, women's and coaches, in terms of our community side of responsibilities. and we made sure that we finished at the end of June, so there'll be plenty of time to be able to give that message out, communicate to the clubs and everybody else of what's going to happen next year. So in that regard, this Women's Committee needs to be set up as soon as possible. Football Brisbane has been able to select already a couple of representatives from them, but we're waiting now for Football Queensland. We've communicated that with them, and they've got a board meeting this Friday, I understand, and I understand that sometime after this Friday, hopefully this committee will be getting up and running.
Oh, good. So we might have some progress through the year, or rather than just waiting till the end of the year. So by the time we get to playing the finals, we might actually know what's going on next year.
It's no use, Peter, coming out with the vision or the future planning for this year, for the year on in December or November. You've got to do it early enough so everybody else can plan. The clubs can plan, everybody.
Well, that's good to hear, Mike. Speaking of plans, what's happening with our strategic plan?
Yes, for Football Brisbane?
For Football Brisbane?
Yeah, I said last year...
Because you did mention the standing committees, and you know that I'm on the women's standing committee,
That's right.
and I had a lot to do with the planning that we did last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's nice to get an update about what's happening.
Yep, so we put that together. The board has signed off on the strategic plan, and just so everybody knows, what happened is we had a number of committees. We put nominations out to everybody in Football Brisbane, and we had a number of people come in that were selected, and we had those committees going. It's same as a competitions review committee we had going, and they all finished in June. Now we've put the strategic plan together, and we're starting to work through that now for this year.
So that's going to cover pretty much the Football Brisbane competition. So forget about the elite competition that Football Queensland are going to be running. We'll go back to effectively the Women's Premier League, if that's the name that's kept for next year. And then our City League, talking seniors now, City League through that. Is there, as part of that vision and that plan, is that, I know with the boys you have this youth Super League type construct. Is it going to be something similar for the girls?
Yes, you bet. Again, you mentioned the boys, and there's a lot of initiatives in relation to competitions that are happening from this year and next year, and we'll go through a few of those a bit later, I think. With the girls, there's a lot of, in the strategic plan, there's participation plans, there's development plans, there's a lot of initiatives in there that we can start, that we're going to start this year. One is a discovery program when it comes to under 8 and 11 girls only programs. And we've got some participation initiatives and so on that we're working through.
So is that really about getting elite girls to play, or just increasing the numbers overall?
Purely for Football Brisbane, it's just about community. It's just about grassroots.
So discovery is that more about girls discovering the game?
The girls that never played the game before, that don't know much about the game. We're not after the eliteness. We're after focus on girls and enjoyment and getting more girls to play the game. That's why this discovery program is going to be up and running. And it's the first of its kind. It's inaugural because it's usually we have girls playing with the boys. Now, we find there's too much physicality. The boys want to run over the girls. So this is purely for, only for girls.
Want to run over the boys.
And that happens too. But we found that we don't get the numbers of girls that want to come because, they can be, influenced again by the boys as well. So this is the first of its kind. We call it the Discovery Program. It's going to be 6 sessions. We're starting off for $100, but that includes your kit as well, shirts, shorts and socks, and 6 full sessions for $100.
Oh, fair enough.
So it's a loss for Football Brisbane, but we think it's an investment in terms of helping participation for the game.
So that's, like you said, that's for like under 8s through under 11s?
Yes.
Is that? Oh, cool.
And that's just one of the initiatives that are...
So, and tied into that vision of discovery and getting more participation, what's happening for coach education?
Yeah, well, again, we're focusing on the coach of coaches this year. One of our inaugural initiatives for coach, it's called Coach the Coaches.
Coach the
and
Coaches.
This is something that has never been done.
You're getting really passionate about this coaching. But
even though some people are kind of against it, I'm really passionate about it because there's level 0s, there's level 1s, and there's level 2s, and some of them, their content, it's not customised to be able to what the coach really needs, what the coach wants, and the coach's questions. So we've devised with the Discovery Program a Coach the Coaches, and it's a free program. And what it does, we've customised some online tools. We've done our own video. Our media officer, Ian Judd, has produced online tools for training, drills and session plans and all that. We'll have workshops. We've got 3 workshops already planned. More than 70 coaches has already come on board in the last week and a half. Yep. So we think it's going to have a great turn up. And we're going to be educating those coaches that don't know anything about the game. That's the mums, the dads, the grandparents that have put their hand up because nobody else is going to coach the team. And this is all about educating them on what their requirements are, what their responsibilities are when they go and coaching a team. right through to corporate governance, like in girls in dressing rooms and little boys in dressing rooms and their responsibilities. All of these things that the coach really doesn't know, and you don't get taught in the level 0s and the level 1 courses. So we think this is a great initiative that's going to help.
Well, I think it's a good
club.
initiative, Mike. I think it's going to be excellent to get that type of communication out to the coaches and the knowledge that they need. Because if you've got, mum or dad, and we want to get more mums coaching, because they do have a way of getting the message across to kids that sometimes dads don't. So,
I'm very excited about this, Peter.
I know you're jumping up and down. You're screwing up that piece of paper so I can hear it.
I've communicated this to the clubs a number of times, and hopefully it's going to be well patronised.
Oh, that's good. Is there anything happening with referees, just to preempt something that might be in the strategic plan?
Yes, when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to retention and development, I think. Can I just say, just on referees, firstly, that Football Brisbane, and I'm not just tooting our trumpet and me coming from New South Wales, I thought we were all right at New South Wales when it comes to referees' development. We are nowhere near Brisbane, nowhere near Football Brisbane. We've got the most FIFA badged referees, 9, coming from Brisbane out of 16. 9 out of 16 in the country come from Brisbane. Our development programs that Ted Kearney puts in place are second to none, absolutely second to none. But how can we help at Football Brisbane try to even better that and get more referees? Well, with Football Queensland support, we charged no fee for level 3s and level 4s this year to try to help some participation. We're putting some money into helping the referees in terms of subsidising some of the uniforms and referees' uniforms that they have to buy, especially for some of those young coaches that really haven't got the money, they're not working. The mums and dads are supporting them. So we're also trying to have a fund to be able to help these referees, come on board. There's just a couple of the initiatives that we do.
I mean, while we see referees down at the SEQ WPL matches and the B League, as Greg likes to call it, the lower division women's often struggle for referees. And I think that's often where the real concern about referees comes in. It's great. We played on the weekend. We had a woman refereeing. She's a great ref, had a great game. Very pleased with her performance. But the other 4 women's games at Mitchie's didn't have refs. So, that we have to organise that ourselves. So that's a bit of a struggle. So it's that lower level that is probably a real concern to a lot of clubs and a lot of women players.
Well, I can say, Peter, and I just had a staff meeting today, so it's so fresh in my mind, grilling Ted Kearney from the referees, and that is that...
Did he give you a red card? Because I've been so close to that.
No, but in terms of the stats that we've got, it's over 90% of coverage of games of what we've had last year and what we're starting to this year, over 90%, which is untold of in terms of the rest of the country. But we're not going to rest on that, What else can we do? So we've got now club referee programs in place, courses that we're doing, club referees, to tidy that gap up where there's not enough proper official referees. So we're trying to, what Ted is telling me, that in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have close to 100% coverage at games.
Well, that's excellent. If that's the plan and we get to 100%. So it's good to see that things are happening behind the scenes that often, the average player doesn't see. And often the person in the club, the coaches, don't see this as well. So it's good.
Communication is a real problem. In our game, where Football Brisbane is actually the biggest zone in the country. I always thought New South Wales, Sutherland was the biggest zone. They had 17,000, 18,000. Football Brisbane has 27,000 players. Biggest zone in the country. So, what I'm seeing is fantastic that, some of the stuff it's doing. Can we improve? Yep. Can we improve ourselves? You bet we can. But it's not an easy task when we're dealing with 73 volunteer clubs as well. And we know how hard it is out there in clubland, and we come down hard because we sometimes have to in terms of rules and regs, or you won't get anything done. But we also want to be reasonable as well. And a lot of things happen in clubland that we just have to understand. And sometimes that puts other clubs off or other teams off, and it looks like sometimes we don't know what we're doing or clubs don't know what we're doing. But I think in general we get it pretty much mostly right from what we can do.
So I think I agree that communication is often the key, and one of the big things we got back from the reviews last year was the communication issues between Football Brisbane and Clubland and the players. And I'm not saying anyone's at fault, I'm just saying that's the perception, there's an issue there, and if we're working towards resolving that, really good. Hey, let's talk about footy again. What's happening with the Elaine Watson Cup?
Yeah, ready to start in May, just like our other cups. Yep, can't wait
So
for that to start.
Elaine
as well.
Watson Cup is really the SEQ WPL teams or the WPL teams in that as well?
all be involved.
Yep. And what we heard talk last year, and I know from the launches, you've talked about Champion of Champions, and we've seen lots of things happening with the FA Cup for men. I don't know there's one for women yet, but hopefully we'll get one. So what's happening on the women's side as far as Champion and Champions and the junior girls as well?
Okay, well, you're right about the FFA Cup for men, and there is a pathway for our Football Brisbane clubs for the men, and that's through the Canali Travel Cup for the men. But for the Champion of Champions, where the women will be playing as well, we're starting of under 12s, and I don't know if everybody knows about the Champion of Champions, so if I can just digress.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to explain it. Yep.
We put a sneak peek video out on our website that the Champion of Champions is coming soon to 2014. In the Champion of Champions now, there's going to be in the first year, in its inaugural year, we'll have Sunshine Coast, Southwest Queensland, Gold Coast and Football Brisbane. So there'll be 4 zones involved and Football Queensland supporting the 4 zones. This will happen in September and October. Who's going to be involved is age groups from under 12s, boys and girls, through to under 18s, and the WPL women and the whoever gets to through the Canali Travel Cup with the men.
So great
And
for the
these
girls.
are Division 1. These are Division 1 premiers.
the top divisions.
When you win your first past the post premiership.
Yep. So with the girls, if there's an under 16 comp or an under 15 comp. So if there's Division 1 and Division 2, it's the Division 1 premiers.
It's the Division 1 premiers, and we'll also allow maybe some composite teams where there's not enough girls in a particular age group. We'll be looking at that to allow that to happen. Also in the under 13 specifically girls, Football Brisbane has a number of 13s teams, and so does Gold Coast. But the other 2 zones that I've mentioned, Southwest Queensland and Sunny, do not. So from there, we will put 2 teams in, and Gold Coast will put 2 teams in. So we've got the under 13s as well, and it's about getting these age groups going. So they're there and they've started, and then we can build on that.
So with the 13s, will that be like first and second?
First and second, yes.
No, that's
right.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, yep.
All right. With the seniors though, the WPL, they'll play against like the Premier League from the Gold Coast.
Yes,
is
the best of the best of the Gold Coast.
So it'll be the WPL, the B League, as Greg likes to call it. Yeah.
Yep. Whoever wins that, not the grand final. I'm talking about the premiership.
Yep.
I call it minor premiership still. But whoever
Get with
wins
the program, Mike. It's called the Premiership.
Whoever wins that, I'm from the old school probably. Whoever wins that will be eligible to go into the Champion of Champions and face the other zones. It started in the 70s in New South Wales, and it's quite frankly the most competitive competition in New South Wales.
Don't give New South Wales credit for anything.
But I think we can do it better. That's all.
All right. Okay. No, look, Mike. Thanks for that. I know you've got to go away and you've got to go and do some disciplinary meetings and stuff. Hopefully there's no girls in there tonight or women. So thanks for coming in. I think that's very informative.
I looked at the stats. There's only been 3 sent off in the women's game at the moment.
There was one in the first round up at Sunny Coast, and the Power, Gap game. Yes, I checked that as well today. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mike. We're just going to go for a quick break, and then we're going to come back with all the results and the previews for the upcoming Q-League fixtures. And welcome back to Jill and the Crown. I'm Dr. Greg. I'm here with Pete. We just heard from Mike, the CEO of Football Brisbane.
The passionate CEO of Football Brisbane. He was
what
really
an exclusive! What an exclusive about the second round of fixtures for the Q-League.
Yeah,
the split of the 2 halves.
That's going to be interesting. It's going to put a few of those clubs that are perhaps aiming to be mid-table in a bit of a dilemma, really. Do you finish 7th and go to the next round against the top 6?
I think it's only going to affect Mitchie. Only Mitchie would play those sort of games and say, let's play the weaker opposition for the finals. That's what you chase silverware at Mitchie like that.
No, we don't.
Checkbook football, that's what it is. Just want the silverware.
Well, that's true.
Any
silverware. Who can deny it? We love novelty checks. We love those big novelty checks.
They stay in the clubhouse for ages. They really do. Yeah, well, talking about football, though, what about the results from last weekend?
Well, you know how I like to go back and call things?
Yes, I saw that.
Get the names. You saw that on my little notes?
Yeah.
The triple treat round. Right. Except, it would have been, except for Annalie blew it.
Well, we are blue. Well, they are blue.
They blew it big time. So we'll talk about why they blew it later. Because we had a 6-1 result, 3-3, 3-0, 2 games with 3-1 and one with 2-1. All got this 3 in there, the triple treat. But Annalie blew it.
Ooh.
Oh, we're going to talk about Annalie. Hey, let's talk about Eastern Suburbs and Power.
That first game off the rank on Friday, and Power big winners in the end, 6-1. It was 2-1 at half time.
Power didn't win.
Sorry, yes, that was a big mistake. East's big winners, 6-1. against the Power.
2-1 at half time?
2-1 at half time. 6 different goal scorers. Now, special thanks to Trish Dorin. She not only put in the team sheets promptly and on time, substitutions as well. She went in and found a little other button which says match report, and she put in the goal scorers. So I can tell you that...
And she put in the times they scored.
That's right.
Which is
so
excellent.
Thank you, Trish. If every other club could do what you do, we'd be very happy. Courtney Donsky scored in the 16th. Sixth. I think it was 16th. It says 6. Yeah, well, okay.
Well, okay, Trish made a typo.
Nicole Quinn, 39th, and so it was 2-1 at half time. Tiffany Robertson, 63rd, and then 3 sort of latish goals. Jess Dillon, the 75th, Nat Mueller for the 79th, and Georgina Amos on the 87th.
So it's nice to see Nat Mueller back after that broken collarbone in pre-season.
Yeah,
so,
okay. Congratulations, Nat, to get back on the football park. Always, yeah.
And
don't know who scored for Power.
Must have been an own goal.
Don't know who played for Power.
Because that's probably why they lost.
Haven't put any team sheet up. So thanks again, Trish and East, for doing the right thing and going that extra step.
And Power, none from 3. So that's tough start to the season.
They've had a tough start, though. They have played 2 of the top 4, which no one else has.
So it's still tough for them.
Oh, yeah. They'd be used to higher, definitely.
Guess what time it is?
Red Riding Report.
Red Riding Report.
I love it. Okay, the next game was Palm Beach taking on Redlands, which did end up as a 3-3 draw. And Tegan Riding from Redlands has this to say. It was disappointing to find out on arrival at Palm Beach that the game had been relegated to a smaller pitch as the main pitch was being used for boys' games. Well, that's very disappointing, Palm Beach. And I don't know who organises the fields there. Is it still Football Brisbane?
But that's obviously been a bit of a talking point for the Redlands players.
Yes, obviously. Yeah, the smaller pitch made the game very compressed for both teams, and Redlands were not able to play their usual expansive game using the whole pitch. So have you played Redlands yet?
Yeah, we played at Redlands.
I was going to say Mitchie's going to shift the game in advance. Anyway, the first goal for Redlands came after 5 minutes from a corner shot. Palm Beach's first goal came around the 26-minute mark with a clearing shot that lobbed over our backs and was put away by their forward, who displayed impressive speed on the ball to create a one-on-one position with our goalie. The second goal was the same strategy, so that was probably Harriet Withers, I believe, who scored 2 there. So Palm Beach went in 2-1 at half-time, which must be a bit of a shock for Redlands.
Yeah, they're not used to being behind.
No, well, I'll talk a bit about that later. Redlands awarded the penalty in the second half, saw it levelled around the 80th minute. Palm Beach scored from a corner, and then Redlands quickly followed to even it up 3-3, being the final result. Palm Beach displayed some good passing skills and that over-the-top ball to take advantage of their forwards' pace, but overall the game was very tight. Redlands a little spoiled by the quality of their pitch, so we'll have to adapt to pitches that aren't as good, and the draw was probably the best outcome under the circumstances. So thank you again, Tegan, for the Red Riding Report.
Yeah, so what she doesn't say is Sachi Tatsuoka got the first 2 goals for Redlands, and Steph Latham got the third. First game for Susie McKean, ex-East player in red for Redlands, so they picked up another quality midfielder.
They don't need them.
Well, they don't need them, but just makes it tough.
Yes.
I did speak to Gary French, the Palm Beach coach, so he was, the week before he was playing down his chances. Redlands might be a bit early in the season for us. Yeah, we're going to struggle. Yeah, thanks, Gary, for passing that around.
Yeah.
Well, you were ready, mate. You were ready to go. So, good game. Good result for Palm Beach.
Great, exciting game. 3-3 draw. I think that's the first draw of the season, I think, in the league.
And the comment from Gary was it was entertaining and a fair result. So both sides seem to think 3-3.
Could this be Redlands' year to go undefeated and not win the premiership?
Possibly.
Gap now taking a 2-point lead. And it was it wasn't about this time last year. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll talk about that because there's not much to say about the next game, which was... the goal scorers there for Palm Beach were Harriet Withers and Ellie Papalexiou.
Yes.
And Sachi Tatsuoka 2 and Steph Latham 1 for Redlands. South took on Sunny Coast 3-0. Don't know who played for Sunny Coast. Don't know who scored.
Don't know much about the game at all.
Don't know much about it at all.
But a good win for Sunny Coast away.
Yep. The Gap took on Olympic 2-1 were the Gap's final score. Thanks to Phil Canham or whoever he got in charge to put in the team sheet. And this is the only fixture for the whole 7 games where both teams have put in their team sheets, their scorers, and their substitutions. So
this is probably a first for Phil.
I think it is. I think I might have gone a bit hard on him last week, and he's finally pulled his finger out.
A bit hard on someone else then.
Well, I will.
I did go to this game.
You did?
I know the cameras were there, but I went and had a look.
And that will be on the website very soon.
Yeah, some about midweek.
Mhm.
So we'll get that up. The Gap, 2-1, 1-0 at half time. Now, the score probably favours Olympic a little bit. I think it was not a 2-1 game. It was probably more a 5 or 6-1 game.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, seriously, the Gap dominated the game. They dominated possession, and probably should have won out more comfortable winners. But it's football.
It is.
And Olympic hung in there. The Gap left them in the game, and at 1-0, with halfway through that second half, they made a mistake, and Olympic capitalised. So one of the few times they got forward, it was 1-1.
Okay.
So then the Gap, a little bit of we used to talk about East used to panic a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Gap frustration this time.
Gap
This is
frustration.
the Gap frustration, and they couldn't get it together. It just wouldn't work for them. And an interesting stat from Rob Askew.
Mhm.
You know that last year they dropped that point to Annerley
Yeah.
in the third game of the season.
And it was Sunny Coast in the third.
And the third game of the season in the
Yeah.
previous year. So he was actually sitting on the bench going, the damn third game of the season is going to cost us again. It's 5 to go, and it's 1-1.
Yeah.
But fortunately, Susie Roger broke the line with a bit of a long ball and put him away.
It makes me think Gap and Redlands, their reputation precedes them. They're so good, those teams, that they don't expect other teams to roll over and let them win, but they certainly go in with this aura of invincibility. And if the other team, if it doesn't go their way, these frustrations
It didn't go their way. I mean, the first 5 minutes, the Gap dominated. They got a penalty. The keeper miraculously stayed on the pitch, and they missed. They missed the penalty.
Missed it.
So typically you'd say, well, 1-0 up to the Gap. Olympic, 85 minutes to go, and they've got to chase the game.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough from but the Gap missed, and the game kept going. And it wasn't until halfway through that first half the Gap got a goal, which was a Leah Curtis shot from outside the box.
Mm.
So it just kept rolling on at 1-0. They created other chances, but then put them away. So you could see the frustration.
Yeah.
And Beck Price got carded purely from frustration, just yelling out something.
Oh dear.
Right.
Well, hold on.
Quite loud, but I mean,
if she's yelling out something,
it was just frustration at herself. I think she missed a
well, then it's
pass.
foul and abusive language.
Well, she got just
What's
rewards.
No. What's the yellow card for then?
For the language.
No. Foul and abusive language is a red card. Foul, abusive, or insulting language is a red
I'm
card.
not going to argue with the referee.
Well,
but I'm just saying.
If it was a yellow card, it could have been dissent or unsporting conduct, perhaps.
Perhaps it was unsporting conduct because she
Perhaps.
wasn't trying to be abusive. I'm not trying to defend the card or the language. I'm just saying.
Oh, well, I'm just telling you
just
you're
the
wrong.
frustration. Don't tell me I'm wrong. I'm only telling you what happened. I can't be wrong. So the point is the frustration was coming through from the Gap. Now, they did manage to get through. They got the last goal with a couple of minutes to go, and they got their points, and the season rolls on. Olympic will probably go away thinking, gee, we were close.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I think other teams will take that result on board and go, well, if Olympic can get that close to the Gap,
right.
maybe we can get that close to the Gap.
Goal scorers there, Leah Curtis and Susie Roger.
Ex-Mitchelton product, apparently.
And Nat Tatham, ex-Annerley product, scored for
I knew
Olympic.
you were gonna say that.
The next game,
Half of Olympic are ex-Hanley products.
Western
They
Pride.
were blue and white as well.
They wore the blue and white stripe again?
Yeah, I was just going to say that so the other clubs know that they seem to be playing blue and white all the time.
Okay. Western Pride took on South West Queensland Thunder. The final score was 3-1 to Thunder. Don't know who scored, don't know who played for Thunder. Western Pride, goal scorer was Chloe Williams. It was 1-0 at half-time, and that's all I know.
The only interesting point from that was Western Pride had 11 players on the team sheet.
Okay.
So that's going to be tough. I think they've got a much tougher game next week. I mean, I know they lost to the Thunder, but they've got a pretty tough game next week. And if you go out there with 11,
yes,
could not be pretty.
Mitchie took on Taringa 3-1. Quickly, Pete, because quickly.
It was not really much to say about that. I mean, Mitchie dominated the game, probably should have scored a few more goals. Let Taringa in late in the first half for an equaliser, one of their few counter-attacks. But 3-1, got the points, move on.
Okay, Georgina Bridges,
Katie McDonald scored from the first one from a long range, 25-metre strike, hit the ball pretty well. Georgie Bridges and from a Reagan O'Grady cross, and then Reagan O'Grady finished one off late. So
and Jenna Eddie.
Yeah.
Olympic. From Taringa, who used to play in Olympics under-18 team last year. I saw in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any subs at that game because it's not on the team sheet for Taringa.
Taringa did make
So
they
they haven't
subs.
They haven't filled in their team sheet correctly either. Then
we filled ours incorrectly.
Yes, sorry, and also did Western Pride, Gap, Olympic, Palm Beach. Okay.
Yep.
And Souths did too. The next game, the final game for the round, UQ took on Annerley 2-0.
Half time 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Greta Bodie scored for UQ, and the Japanese import A Mutsusaki scored as well.
Not on the team sheet, so where did you get that information?
Well, because I got the Otter report.
The Otter report?
It's not the Otter report, it's just a report from Otter.
Okay. What does Otter have to say?
Well, let me read out what Otter has to say.
Quickly.
Okay, so the girls played well in the first 10 minutes and then dropped to the opposition standard.
Oh, burn. Who does that insult most?
Well, I'm just reading what he says here. Field position and 10 corners later, UQ headed in a goal before half-time. It was from a regulation cross from the right wing, Rachel Smith, who happens to be the club president's speedy daughter.
Right.
There you go. Now you know where the war chest came from and why the women have got the war chest.
Okay, yep,
Okay.
that explains it.
Score by Greta Bodie came to UQFC from Taringa.
Okay.
And with a handy header and no goalkeeper was going to stop that one. So you could probably do an action for that for me.
No, go on.
Okay. Annerley got a lucky break with a penalty from a handball and blasted it over the crossbar.
Unlucky.
Which is why I'm a bit blue with them, because if they'd have scored that, it would have been 2-1, and when he got it 3... Yep.
Didn't make you look good.
Yeah, it would have. Someone's got to. Mid-second half, Annerley were falling apart, and the Japanese import beat the defence line and flipped one over the goalkeeper for an easy second goal. I'm not sure how you flip one over the goalkeeper.
With your foot, you flip it like a pancake.
Yeah, okay. And Tessa, the American import, hit the crossbar from the right fullback, and UQ probably missed a couple more chances they should put away. In the last 15, they just protected the lead and took the points.
Well, goal difference is going to count, even in the middle now.
Yes, apparently, yes.
And I imagine that UQ will be in the middle, so goal difference will be very important.
It might be. Those 10 goals against Redlands might come back to haunt us.
They most certainly will.
So, hey, do you want to know what the table is?
Quickly.
Okay. On top, the Gap with 9, Redlands and Palm Beach on 7.
All three teams there undefeated.
Yes. East and Sunshine Coast, UQ and Mitchie all have 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
And Olympic, Souths, Annerley, Southwest Queensland Thunder have got their first points, got 3 points each. And Western Pride, Taringa have 0, and Peninsula Power are coming last with no goals, no points.
Well, they've scored a goal. Yeah. And obviously Olympic and Western Pride still have to play. So
yes, they've only played twice.
Games coming this weekend.
Yes, round 4, if it stops raining.
If it stops raining, yes.
If it just keeps going, there could be a lot of games cancelled.
It could be.
Could be one of those weekends where Football Brisbane just call the entire weekend off.
Could be.
They've done that before.
They have.
Yeah,
I don't mind that as long as they do it early so everyone can...
Well, it often happens when it's rained all week
Yeah.
and everything's waterlogged and they go, you know what, we're just going to give everyone early notice. But Saturday, 3 p.m, no Friday night games this week.
No, okay, yep.
Yep. So Saturday, 3 p.m. at Clive Berghofer Stadium.
That's a step up for Southwest Queensland Thunder.
Well, it's good that they're getting into a stadium.
It's a good stadium.
Yeah.
From what I've heard of, the Toowoomba Raiders, the men team, used to play out there, and it's quite a good setup.
So obviously that's the Southwest Queensland Thunder at home to UQFC.
I'm tipping UQ on this one, and I hope we hear more from Otter, and hopefully UQ play to their standard this time.
Well, Otter likes to shoot pretty straight. He
doesn't need to. He's not the coach anymore. He can say what he wants.
Yeah, so it's good to get reports from him.
I wonder though if he's undermining all the hard work the psychologist woman did last year though.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this will be a draw.
Draw.
I think Southwest Queensland Thunder will take it to UQ, and we'll get a point out of this.
Okay. It's good to get this trip up the range early. I think this will be good for UQ to do it.
We don't go up the range in the first 13 rounds, and if we finish in a different half to Toowoomba, we never have to go there.
Well, lucky you.
That's good, isn't it?
Okay, on Saturday at 5 p.m. at Elder Oval, Annerley take on the Gap. I can't see Annalee getting a draw or win here, so I'm going to have to say the Gap wins.
Yes, I think the Gap will win this comfortably.
Yeah.
But it's the first game of a double header.
Yes.
Because Annalee's other team, Olympic.
Well, it's Olympic. I know it's hard, but it is Olympic. Taking on Peninsula Power at 7 p.m. at Elder Oval.
This I think is going to be the match of the round.
It is the match of the round. These are two teams that will be fighting for the same sort of position on the table. And Power are so far, they're bottom.
The Scotsman doesn't want an OBE, so
he could go. He could become a knight, can't he?
Well, apparently you can now.
Yeah. Well, points for Power are desperate. I mean, they have had a hard run. They have played 2 of the top 4 teams. No other team has done that so far.
I think that Power will be getting desperate to get points on the board, and I think that desperation might get them over Olympic.
Okay.
Just concerned that Olympic might be thinking we've got a good result in a narrow loss to the Gap, and maybe just ease off a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I just making it up.
I'm tipping Olympic on this one. It's both good. What's great about it is 2 games at the one pitch. I think it'd be great if more clubs did that. I know. There's the revenue issues, but geez, even if for one weekend, if East and Annalee got together. I'm trying to think of UQ and Taringa got together and hosted a game together. Two at home one time and 2 at the other place. It'd be great just to see more football without moving.
It used to be that way with Brisbane women's football back in the day when everyone played out at Carmichael Park.
Oh, right.
You'd have 2 or 3 games out there.
Okay.
Which was great. You could all go out there and watch different games.
Yeah, okay. And the last game on Saturday is Taringa taking on Palm Beach at 7 p.m. at Jack Spear. I think Palm Beach will win that one.
I think Palm Beach will win it comfortably. It doesn't get any easier for Taringa at all.
They've also had a pretty... Well, they haven't yet. They haven't got to this will be their first top 4 game.
Yes, that's true. So they've played teams that are just above them, really.
Yeah, like Mitchie. On Sunday, the first game...
first is right. This is like...
10 a.m.
10 a.m. This is rubbish. To go up there at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Sunny Coast take on Mitchelton at Stockland Stadium.
Let's hope we're not playing on the backfield with the
posts.
rugby league posts up on top.
Ask the refs what happens if it does. And then
you told me that if it hits the rugby league bit, it bounces back in.
I said that.
It's
what's the ref on the day going to tell you?
What's the rule? What's the proper? You keep having to go on me about not knowing the rules.
If it's like a corner flag, for example, or it's the post. It's technically the post. Then it has to be. So I tell
the girls to aim for that post.
Well, why
Stick
not?
it up there.
I think Sunny Coast will win that one.
I don't. I think Mitchie will win that.
Okay. At 2 p.m, Redlands take on Western Pride, and I think Redlands will be trying to get some more goals.
I think they will be really pushing their goal difference very high.
Okay.
I think Western Pride again. If they've only got 11 players out there, they're going to struggle with the sides of Redlands pitch.
Yep.
And what time is it? 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
When we played, it was hot. Pray it rains.
Okay. The last game is at 6 p.m. Souths United take on Eastern Suburbs.
I think a comfortable win for East.
Comfortable win for East too. Haven't heard much from Souths yet, so will be good to.
Yeah, they had a good win over Taringa, but I don't know that you can pick a lot out of that.
No, you can't.
It's difficult to say where you sit. But this week, now that we're into 4 games, we're actually going to start to see where some of these teams sit compared to each other.
And, well, that 6th spot or that 7th spot.
Well, at least we know what we're aiming for now.
Yeah.
So,
could have been
I would have preferred just to play 2 rounds, but...
Well, do teams now like Taringa and... I'm tipping Taringa and Western Pride, do they say, well, let's just sort of go very cruisy in this first round?
And let's try and win the bit of silverware in the second part of the season.
Well, that's when we're going to be more competitive. I don't know. It's a long time to sort of do that, though. I think everyone would be playing...
Well, I think everybody goes out there to win every time you play.
Yeah.
So, but do you feel better if you come 7th and you make the top half? Or do you feel better if you come 8th going into the last round as favourites?
Well, we'll find out in a few rounds. That's your lot from football in Brisbane this week.
It's been good.
It has been good.
We've had a good chat to Mike. Had some good games on the weekend and thoroughly enjoyed myself down watching the Gap and Olympic. It's a good entertaining game. At Mitchie Taringa game was a good entertaining game. It's a big crowd at Mitchie these days. We had 5 women's games on that day.
Wow.
So lots of girls playing. We've got a team in every division, you know, so there's lots of girls
Yes,
there all
yes.
the time.
Mitchie's done well this year.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's just good, and we're getting people from other clubs to come as well because they're enjoying the spectacle.
Well, you
and
know, if there's 2 games on, people are likely to stay around at least to watch a half.
So what's good about last week, there was no men's games at all, so it was just women's football
All day. Cool.
So which says get out and watch some women's football.
Get out and watch some women's football. Bye from me.
Thanks for listening.